Part 1 of making challah. The first step is to proof the yeast. And I use rapid rise yeast, but it doesn't have to be rapid rise, but it needs to be dry. And you use a whole package and 4 tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a cup of lukewarm water. Now, you put your finger in it and it should feel just a little bit warm, not room temperature, but just a tiny bit warmer. So what I'm going to do is pour out a little bit and add some hot water until I get it the right temperature. It has to be warm enough to activate the yeast, but not too warm or it'll kill the yeast. Okay, so that's good. And then you just stir it. And I do this in a bowl instead of the mixer. Your mixer, you have to do it in a bowl because your mixer leaks and you can't put water in it. Okay, so when that's ready, you'll see, when you know that, when you see the bubbles in there, you'll know that it's active. And that's all you have to do is make sure that it's not dead. Okay. So while that's happening, I get the oil and egg ready, and it's 1/4 of a cup of oil. Okay. And 1 egg. And you don't want to mix the oil and the flour for a little bit. Okay. Mix that around. Okay, so that's part 1. Now we're going to wait. Part 2. Okay, I kind of stir up the flour a little bit so that it's got some air in it. And it's 1.5 cups of flour that you start with. And I just scoop off the top. It's not an exact science in bread. You'll see at the end. Okay, there's 1.5 cups. And, oh, I lost my fork. Okay. I'll take another fork. Okay, so I mix the flour in, the 1.5 cups. Okay, this is a little long on real time. Okay, and then I set my bread maker. It's best to set it to, mine's called dough. I think yours is called, you could set yours to first rise. That's it, first rise. And that way it'll mix it and it'll let it go through the first rise. Okay. Cut. Part 3, it's in the mixer and the mixer starts slowly and then it goes fast. You just saw it go fast. And you want to wait to add the egg and the oil until it's all the lumps are out and this is completely smooth. Okay, you can cut it.
This is the observation phase, and you can see how Lena is also a keen observer and helping in every way.
While that's mixing, I get the next 1.5 cups of flour ready, and I use the 1/2 cup. First I fill the 1/2 cup, and I get 1.5 teaspoons of salt, which this actually measures 1.5 teaspoons. It's kind of unique. Okay, and I put it into the big cup and mix it around. Okay, then actually I'm going to use the 1/2 cup. Okay, and then another 1/2 cup. So that's the 1.5 cups total. Okay, now this is mixed. This is rather confusing. Okay, but you can see in there the lumps are gone, and now I'm going to add the oil and the egg. And this will take few minutes to mix. When it's completely mixed, we'll add the rest of the flour. Okay, now the oil and the egg have mixed in. It's completely smooth, and I add a cup and a half of flour. And I kind of let it, I don't add it all at once. I just let that first cup mix in. And then after it's mixed in, you'll see it'll start looking a little bit like a ball. It'll start looking wet, I'll say. And now I'm going to add the other half a cup. Okay, and this will take a few minutes for that to mix in. So we'll wait just a couple of minutes. Okay, now it's getting into a ball. You can see it's really wet coming up the sides. So the last half a cup, we have 3 cups in there. We're adding a half a cup as needed. You add some and it starts forming into a ball. And you just keep adding a little bit until it's incorporated. And you'll see it'll be moving around on the bottom. As long as there's a little bit moving around on the bottom, a little bit of wet dough, then add a little bit more. When the bottom stays clean, you have enough flour. And so that is the end of this step. I'm just going to add it till it doesn't need any more flour. And then I'll just let the machine do its thing for through the first rise. Part 17. Separating the dough and rolling and making the loaves. So I put down wax paper and flour it so that the dough doesn't stick to it. I have a tray ready to put the dough on that has foil on it, so I don't have to clean the pan too much. I spray that with oil, or you can use oil from a bottle. I take out the challah. And I flatten it, turn it over so there's flour on both sides. And then this is where, if you were going to say a bracha, this is when you would do it. And they cut it into 6 pieces, and I cut it into half, and then I cut each half into thirds. The middle's always the biggest, so I cut the middle as the littlest because it's the thickest. And then I just stretch them out into pieces. And after they sit for a minute, they stretch a lot more. So I stretch them twice. And I take the 3 pieces that are the biggest and I make a bigger loaf. Let's see, this is probably the biggest. Middle one goes on top, the other 2 on the bottom. Pull it over. Anna knows this part very well. She knows how to braid beautifully. And then at the end, I just make it look pretty, however that is. Put it onto the pan and it's very flexible. You can just squeeze it into a nice pretty loaf. And then I do the same thing with the second 3. Braid it. Okay. Okay, that one made a much smaller loaf, but you never know which one's going to turn out bigger. Okay, and then I cover it with a beautiful tea towel that Anna gave me from Anthropology. I put it near the oven so that it's warm. It needs warm to rise. I set the oven to 375, and I set the timer for an hour and a half, 90 minutes. And that's when it will have risen. So now you have an hour and a half to rest or to play. This is part 18, getting the challah into the oven. So I have an egg, okay, toss that, okay, beat it. And hope that the brush is in there. No, it's not. Oh, always a question. Where's the brush? Well, you know what? Here's the brush.
Ah, there it was in there.
Okay, so this is easiest. You can do it with your hands if you don't have a brush. It's a little messier, but you can do it. So you just brush the egg wash onto the challah. Make sure you get it in the cracks because it's prettier when it's in the cracks. Make sure you get it all the way down. Try not to have a puddle on the sides because then you have like fried egg on the sides. So I'm gonna get it in there. Okay. You can tell if you let it rise too much when you do this step, it collapses. That's not a good thing. You don't want to let it rise too much. This is like perfect. It's still resilient, but yet it's big. And it'll rise more when it's in the oven. Okay, so there it's covered. And then I'm going to spread, you can spread poppy seed or sesame. I happen to have that sesame. Okay, that's good. Too much, it gets all over. Too little, people like the crust on it. Okay, that's it. Now I'm just gonna pop it in the oven for 20 minutes. When it comes out, I'll scoot this underneath it so it's not laying on the tray, and that way the bottom will be crisp, and then I'll just let it cool. Okay, the only other step was taking it out of the oven after 20 minutes, which Art did. Here's the finished challah, ready for dinner. That's it.